Stop. Don't blink. Because what just detonated inside that courtroom isn't routine celebrity drama. This is fame colliding with family at its most brutal point. Just hours ago, sealed filings ripped through the industry like a lightning strike. No leaks teased it. No insiders hinted. Just a single disclosure that flipped the entire narrative on its head. Todd has launched a $46 million legal assault. Not aimed at faceless entities. Not aimed at distant figures. But pointed directly at Kandi and Don Juan. And the allegation shaking everything loose? Claims of paternity deception involving Ace and Blaze. Pause on that. Sources close to the situation say Todd didn't arrive quietly. He entered carrying years of unanswered questions, emotional fractures, and a silence that finally snapped. Cameras stalled mid-flash. Reporters stopped breathing. And when the phrase paternity deception echoed across the room, every sound disappeared. This stopped being about finances the second those words landed. This is about trust collapsing, bloodlines questioned, and a man confronting the possibility that his life was built on fiction. Behind the scenes, insiders allege Todd uncovered details he was never supposed to see, messages erased, timelines reshaped, conversations buried deep enough to stay hidden forever. What surfaced, they say, shattered his understanding of his own home. And that's when Don Juan became impossible to ignore. Online, one savage question is spreading faster than the filings themselves. Who knew and chose silence? The public is split straight down the middle. Some see a wounded father demanding truth after years of restraint. Others believe this is retaliation wrapped in legal language. But one reality stands above opinion. The moment children are named in court, innocence is no longer protected. If these claims stand, this won't fade as gossip. It will be etched as one of the most devastating family implosions celebrity culture has ever seen. And if they fall apart, then this case becomes a weaponized catastrophe that obliterated everything it touched. There is no neutral ending here. Because as of today, Hollywood crossed a line it can never step back from. Brace yourself, because that courtroom awakened to a morning it had never known. The atmosphere felt heavy, almost crushing, as camera flashes sliced through the tension and hushed whispers bounced off cold walls. Everyone present, journalists, aides, spectators, understood instantly that this wasn't routine legal business. This was the slow-motion collapse of a family story soaked in pain, buried truths, and long-guarded secrets. Todd's presence dominated the space, every step signaling that he had come prepared to face whatever truth lay ahead, no matter how destructive. Yes, $46 million loomed large, but the real cost reached far deeper. This was about selfhood, broken faith, and the emotional wreckage of a father allegedly trapped inside a carefully engineered illusion. The names Ace and Blaze lingered like a ghost in the room, accusations never spoken aloud yet impossible to ignore, as if the walls themselves leaned inward under the weight of what was being claimed. Those inside described Todd moving with restrained force, his face carrying resolve laced with unmistakable hurt. His legal team began unraveling a chronology, messages, discussions, encounters that allegedly pointed to years of calculated misdirection and concealment. Each document was examined with surgical focus, every argument delivered in a way that drained the air from the room. Pens scratched wildly as reporters sensed they were watching a real-life tragedy unfold, unscripted yet more devastating than fiction. Allegations painted Kandi and Don Juan as architects of silence, half-answers, and concealed exchanges, shaping a version of reality that left Todd lost while preserving the facade of domestic perfection. The dissonance between the glossy public image and the alleged private truth was startling. Todd's reported opening words struck harder than expected. He spoke of devotion, trust, and the sting of betrayal, each sentence carrying the gravity of years spent believing in a family narrative now splintered beyond recognition. Allegedly, the materials introduced included personal communications, undisclosed encounters, and records that clashed directly with what had been publicly presented. The courtroom, sources say, seemed to freeze as attorneys exposed these inconsistencies, each one landing with increasing force. Todd's alleged anger wasn't framed as vengeance alone. It was portrayed as a fight for truth for himself and for Ace and Blaze, whose reality he believes had been withheld far too long. Observers say Kandi appeared calm, but subtle moments suggested cracks beneath the surface. The sheer pressure of the claims, the steady unveiling of alleged evidence, and the emotional charge reportedly unsettled even veteran courtroom figures. Don Juan, too, seemed on edge, exchanging tight glances with Kandi, as if the implications were seeping into every corner of their lives. These confrontations, sources allege, went beyond financial stakes. They cut to responsibility, to answering for choices that may have inflicted profound emotional harm. Todd's posture, deliberate yet heavy with feeling, reflected a man facing alleged betrayal while trying to shield what he holds most sacred. Outside the courtroom walls, the reaction was immediate chaos. As fragments leaked, social platforms ignited with outrage, debate, and empathy. Hashtags surged within hours, turning the case into a digital inferno. The public split sharply. Some rallied behind a wounded father seeking emotional truth. Others questioned whether rage was driving the legal offensive. Allegedly, the surfaced material hinted at an intricate web of withheld facts and intentional silence, all designed to keep Todd in the dark. With each new claim, the fire spread, pulling millions into a story that felt both intensely personal and universally painful. Inside, witnesses describe waves of emotional disruption. Todd's attorneys presented communications suggesting a conscious effort to obscure facts, timelines that didn't align, and interactions allegedly crafted to distort reality. Each exhibit seemed to deepen the sense of betrayal, and sources claim even the judge showed visible reaction to the seriousness of the allegations. Todd's alleged internal struggle, heartbreak colliding with fury and a need for answers, became the emotional core of the proceedings, a man navigating a labyrinth of doubt in search of clarity. The mention of Ace and Blaze raised the stakes to an almost unbearable level. Every time their names surfaced, the room reportedly shifted, an unspoken recognition that children's identities and emotional futures were tangled in a legal and moral storm. Allegedly, Todd's mission extended beyond himself, driven by a belief that they deserved an unfiltered truth about their family. Claims of concealment and emotional manipulation saturated the atmosphere, creating a tension so thick it felt alive. Observers sensed they were watching the dismantling of a family image that had been carefully curated for years. As sessions continued, insiders recount a series of volatile moments, testimonies, and alleged exhibits that suggested systematic misdirection. Each disclosure reportedly intensified the emotional charge, with Todd remaining outwardly composed yet clearly impacted by the weight of what was unfolding. Allegedly, the scope of the deception and its lasting implications for the children set this case apart from anything seen before. Those present described a mix of disbelief and sorrow as layer after layer of a once-idealized narrative peeled away. The drama didn't stay confined to the courtroom. Almost instantly, it spilled into public consciousness. Online audiences dissected every document, every whispered detail, every eyewitness claim. Millions became invested, drawn by the collision of legal maneuvering and raw human tragedy. Allegedly, Todd's relentless pursuit of what he believes is truth transformed the lawsuit into something larger, a cultural flashpoint questioning loyalty, parental duty, and the price of secrecy. Each hearing became not just legal review, but emotional confrontation played out on a public stage. Sources say Todd's strategy centered less on monetary recovery and more on exposure, revealing alleged patterns of deception, surfacing hidden communications, and asserting the emotional reality of a father blindsided by years of doubt. The courtroom, they claim, turned into a battleground of grief and revelation, with Kandi and Juan opposite Todd's insistence on acknowledgement and accountability. Beyond the courthouse, scrutiny never slowed. Fans, analysts, and media voices parsed every development, speculating on consequences and motives. Allegedly, Todd's visible emotional strain combined with the complexity of the claims amplified public attention. What began as a lawsuit evolved into a broader narrative about betrayal and trust under the glare of celebrity. Each alleged message and testimony was magnified, transforming the case into a viral saga with deep emotional resonance. As proceedings reportedly advanced, insiders observed Todd balancing calculated legal moves with deeply personal resolve. The alleged records mapped years of concealed dialogue and conflicting timelines, challenging the story once accepted as truth. The room, observers say, remained electrically charged, heavy with the sense that long-hidden realities were surfacing. Todd's search for understanding and justice for Ace and Blaze resonated powerfully, shaping a story of pain and endurance that gripped audiences far beyond the courtroom. Those close to the case claim each new session raised the temperature further. Allegedly, the evidence outlined a sustained pattern of concealment, with Todd's demand for honesty framing every argument. The courtroom became a convergence point for law, emotion, and public spectacle, where silence between revelations spoke as loudly as testimony. Every pause underscored the seriousness of what was being alleged. Ultimately, the presence of Ace and Blaze, the alleged communications, and the testimony revealed not only legal questions, but deep emotional consequences. Sources say the children's identities and stability emerged as central concerns, intensifying the gravity for everyone involved. Allegedly, Todd remained focused on their right to clarity, while the proceedings exposed layers of manipulation that had shaped both public image and private life. According to insiders, the courtroom transformed into a symbol of broken trust and the irreversible damage caused by secrets held too long. Reports indicate the ripple effects extended far beyond those walls. Online communities analyzed every detail, audiences reacted with shock and compassion, and public discourse fixated on a story blending celebrity, loss, and legal intrigue. Allegedly, Todd's confrontation of the claimed betrayal elevated the case into a cultural moment, sparking debates about morality, family, and truth. Each session, each claim, and each revelation pushed the narrative closer to a climax that held millions captive, unable to look away. Allegedly, the pressure inside the courtroom intensified with every passing moment as Todd's legal team pushed further into what they described as a carefully woven pattern of deception. Sources say each newly revealed document, private exchange, and reconstructed timeline peeled back another layer of betrayal that had allegedly remained buried for years. Journalists inside the chamber reportedly struggled to keep pace, pens racing across notebooks as cameras snapped relentlessly, freezing moments that felt ripped from a psychological thriller. The accusations pressed down heavily on the room, with the names Ace and Blaze echoing again and again like a tragic refrain, impossible to escape. Those seated in the gallery allegedly sat frozen, breaths held, as each disclosure sparked gasps and hushed murmurs, the tension thick enough to feel. According to reports, Todd addressed the court with controlled force, his voice steady but laced with long-simmering pain. Insiders claim his attorneys presented a chain of private communications that appeared to indicate deliberate efforts to keep critical information about the children's parentage hidden. Each exhibit reportedly clashed sharply with earlier public narratives, exposing a stark divide between what the world had been shown and what was allegedly happening behind closed doors. Observers described moments where even veteran legal professionals seemed rattled by the seriousness of the claims. Allegedly, the emotional burden deepened with the suggestion that Todd had been guided to believe in a version of his family that may never have existed. Kandi, sources say, worked to project calm, though subtle signs reportedly revealed mounting strain beneath the surface. Juan, according to insiders, appeared visibly unsettled, exchanging wordless looks with Kandi that hinted at anxiety and mounting pressure. Allegedly, each new revelation poured gasoline onto an already raging emotional fire, transforming the courtroom into a stage where grief, betrayal, and reckoning unfolded in real time. Todd's legal team repeatedly stressed that the case went far beyond money, framing it instead as a fight for honesty, accountability, and the emotional protection of Ace and Blaze, whose identities were allegedly entangled in years of misrepresentation. Beyond the courthouse doors, the reaction exploded almost instantly. Social platforms flooded with disbelief, outrage, and raw emotion as fans and commentators tore apart every leaked detail. Hashtags surged into global prominence, dominating timelines as millions weighed in. Allegedly, Todd's visible anguish and public demand for answers resonated deeply, while Kandi and Juan's every reaction was scrutinized for signs of fear, guilt, or deflection. The proceedings reportedly evolved into a viral phenomenon, blending legal drama with emotional narrative in a way that captivated audiences across the world. As the trial moved forward, sources claim Todd's team introduced even more documents and private messages pointing to prolonged manipulation and concealment. Reporters and spectators described a growing sense of disbelief, each revelation seemingly more explosive than the last. Allegedly, the reconstructed timeline revealed stretches of secrecy. Witnesses inside the courtroom reportedly described stretches of heavy silence after each shocking disclosure, underscoring the seriousness of the accusations. Todd's attorneys, insiders say, carefully spotlighted inconsistencies, hidden exchanges, and actions that suggested long-term emotional control. Every argument allegedly emphasized how secrecy had distorted Todd's understanding of his own family and highlighted the potential long-term impact on Ace and Blaze. Observers noted that the atmosphere felt unlike any other, a collision of legal maneuvering and emotional devastation that created a spectacle few could look away from. As proceedings continued, Juan's alleged role became an increasingly central focus. Sources claim Todd's legal team argued that crucial information had been deliberately withheld, leaving Todd unable to make informed choices about his family and future. Each new detail reportedly heightened the emotional stakes as the courtroom absorbed the implications of years of alleged deception. Witnesses described Todd as steady yet deeply affected, a man standing at the intersection of resilience and heartbreak while confronting what he believed was a network of lies that shaped his life. The dynamic between public reaction and courtroom revelations added yet another layer of intensity. Fans and analysts dissected every expression, statement, and leaked document, fueling a digital storm that refused to slow. Allegedly, the emotional force of Todd's story elevated the lawsuit into something broader, a reflection on trust, identity, and the damage caused by secrets kept too long. Each disclosure reportedly built upon the last, creating a cumulative impact that left both the courtroom and the public stunned. Sources say Todd's approach remained deliberate, blending sharp legal strategy with emotional narrative. Allegedly, each document was introduced with care, forming a larger picture of betrayal and heartbreak spanning years. Observers described the courtroom as electrically charged, with every piece of evidence intensifying fear, disbelief, and tension. The emotional weight was reportedly magnified by real-time public engagement, with millions following updates, debating implications, and questioning the morality behind every move. Todd's pursuit of what he believes to be truth carried a dramatic force that echoed far beyond the courthouse. According to insiders, the revelations touched every aspect of the relationships involved. Todd's focus, they say, remained fixed on exposing the truth while shielding Ace and Blaze from further emotional harm. Allegedly, the evidence suggested sustained efforts to hide reality and manipulate emotions to keep Todd in the dark. The courtroom became, in the words of witnesses, a microcosm of grief, legal conflict, and viral spectacle, where every revelation rippled outward. Observers noted that Todd's demand for clarity amplified the emotional stakes, transforming the case into one of the most haunting and compelling celebrity controversies in recent memory. As the proceedings unfolded, the convergence of documents, testimony, and public scrutiny created an atmosphere unlike anything seen before. Sources report that each allegation, each exposed secret, and each courtroom exchange reinforced a narrative of betrayal and relentless pursuit of truth. Todd's journey, confronting alleged deception and fighting for the children's right to understand their identities, elevated the case beyond standard celebrity drama. Allegedly, this trial became a raw display of human emotion, heartbreak, and the irreversible consequences of secrets hidden for far too long. The courtroom crackled with energy, so sharp it seemed to hum beyond the walls themselves. Todd's arrival alone shifted the balance of the room, controlled anger and unmistakable grief etched across his expression. Every gaze followed him, fully aware that this moment carried the power to unravel years of carefully guarded narratives, tearing apart the image of a family long viewed as untouchable. Anticipation pressed heavily as his attorneys began unveiling materials once hidden from public sight, evidence capable of dismantling reputations and rewriting what fans believed they knew about Ace and Blaze's origins. Private messages, sealed conversations, and long-suppressed records surfaced one by one, each stripping away another layer of what was alleged to be years of deception. Witnesses described a courtroom held captive by disbelief, a slow-building tragedy unfolding as personal history collided with public exposure. Todd's voice, controlled yet visibly wounded, reportedly cut through the silence as he described moments of doubt and betrayal, sketching the portrait of a man confronting a truth he had been deliberately denied. Every disclosure struck with force, marking the pain of a father fighting to reclaim his reality. Kandi, according to sources, attempted to project steadiness, though tension reportedly leaked through every movement. Juan appeared unsettled, the strain of scrutiny flickering across his face in fleeting looks and restrained reactions. The courtroom transformed into a crucible of confrontation, where legal argument merged with deeply personal reckoning. Each mention of Ace and Blaze echoed with weight, underscoring the human cost buried beneath legal briefs and calculated strategy. Todd's legal team reportedly unveiled a meticulous chronology, tracing years of concealed exchanges and interactions that allegedly misled him at every turn. With each new detail, the emotional gravity deepened, exposing what insiders characterized as a deliberate pattern of omissions and partial truths. Gasps, pauses, and hushed speculation rippled through the room as observers absorbed the implications. The tragedy was unmistakable. A father realizing the foundation of his family life may have rested on deception. As proceedings advanced, witnesses took the stand, recounting exchanges and events that allegedly illuminated a long-running manipulation. Todd's anguish was reportedly evident in every response, every carefully framed question, grief intertwined with resolve in a way that halted even the most hardened onlookers. The atmosphere thickened with tension, each revelation stretching belief while amplifying the emotional toll. Kandi and Juan's guarded posture reportedly hardened, though sources say the pressure was impossible to fully contain. Outside, the digital response surged in parallel. Clips, documents, and testimony fragments ignited social platforms, turning hashtags into rallying points for millions. Conversations exploded around truth, betrayal, and consequence as public empathy grew. The alleged focus on Juan's involvement injected further intensity. Todd's attorneys argued that critical knowledge had been knowingly withheld, an accusation that, if substantiated, would suggest intentional participation in the deception. Moments of silence followed each disclosure, the gravity settling heavily over the room. Legal precision collided with raw emotion, turning the courtroom into a theater of reckoning. Todd's repeated emphasis on Ace and Blaze deepened the emotional resonance. Every line of questioning underscored the lasting impact of alleged deception on the children, binding the legal and personal into a single, inescapable narrative. This was no longer gossip, it was consequence, responsibility, and accountability unfolding in real time. As testimony continued, Kandi and Juan's defenses reportedly appeared increasingly strained, subtle signs of anxiety slipping through their composure. The tension grew suffocating, each document adding weight to an already fragile balance. Todd remained fixed in purpose, absorbing the emotional cost while pressing forward with a story rooted in heartbreak and resolve. Public reaction echoed the intensity within the courtroom. Millions followed each development obsessively, parsing timelines, expressions, and leaked material. Todd's pursuit of truth, especially where Ace and Blaze were concerned, struck a universal nerve, transforming the proceedings into a global spectacle of emotion and law. As the case approached pivotal moments, witnesses described testimony detailing years of alleged misdirection and concealment. Each revelation elevated the stakes, contrasting Todd's determination with the increasingly defensive posture of those accused. Suspense thickened, grief lingered, and the human cost of long-buried secrets became impossible to ignore. Todd's pain emerged as the emotional center, every exhibit reinforcing the weight of alleged deception. His focus never wavered, driven by the need to protect Ace and Blaze from further harm. Legal strategy and emotional confrontation fused into a narrative of extraordinary intensity, holding the courtroom in its grip. According to those present, the proceedings evolved into a raw exchange between betrayal and truth-seeking. Each testimony and cross-examination added depth to a story of manipulation and reckoning. Silence often followed revelations, heavy and unbroken, as perceptions shattered and consequences surfaced. As the trial neared a critical threshold, Todd's arguments underscored the psychological damage of years spent in the dark. His insistence on full disclosure framed the moral stakes, transforming the courtroom into a symbol of tragedy and exposure. The unfolding drama defied precedent, part celebrity scandal, part human collapse. Beyond the courthouse, the narrative dominated headlines and feeds alike. Audiences dissected every detail, scrutinizing reactions for signs of guilt or remorse. Todd's resolve drew widespread empathy, while the responses of Kandi and Juan were analyzed relentlessly. The convergence of emotion, law, and public fascination elevated the case into a cultural flashpoint. As pressure mounted, the courtroom became a stage where revelation and accountability collided. Long-concealed truths surfaced with crushing force, each disclosure intensifying a story of betrayal and family fracture under public scrutiny. The stakes reached far beyond dollars. Todd's focus on Ace and Blaze illuminated the moral core of the case, the lasting consequences of manipulation and secrecy. Every testimony deepened the narrative of heartbreak and pursuit, turning the trial into a story with universal resonance. In its final moments, the courtroom absorbed revelations impossible to dismiss. Todd's anguish, the defensive strategies across the aisle, and the central role of Ace and Blaze converged into a narrative unlike any other. Observers described it as devastating yet mesmerizing, a fusion of personal collapse, legal exposure, and viral obsession. Each document and statement reinforced the gravity of the claims. Todd's quest for clarity remained the spine of the story, highlighting the emotional toll of hidden truths. The trial became a spectacle of consequence and intensity, destined to linger in the cultural memory. As the session closed, the atmosphere felt like the epicenter of an unfolding tragedy. This was no ordinary proceeding, it was a reckoning. Secrets exposed, trust shattered, and a father's pursuit of truth laid bare before the world, leaving an imprint that would not fade anytime soon. The courtroom drama has reached its boiling point, and the world is watching every move, every reaction, every word. Todd's relentless pursuit of truth has exposed layers of betrayal that no one saw coming. Ace and Blaze, innocent in the middle of decades of deception, have become symbols of a scandal that could redefine celebrity family dynamics forever. Kandi and Juan's responses, measured yet strained, only fuel speculation, leaving fans and onlookers questioning motives, morality, and the lengths people will go to protect appearances. Every leaked message, every undisclosed conversation, every hidden timeline has shattered the illusion of a perfect life, leaving heartbreak and outrage in its wake. The emotional intensity is palpable. Todd's heartbreak has become a global spectacle, his pain resonating with anyone who's ever been betrayed by someone they trusted. Kandi and Juan face not only legal consequences, but a public that is relentless, dissecting every move with surgical precision. Social media has ignited into a wildfire, with hashtag #AceandBlazeTruth trending across platforms, millions weighing in, debating, judging, and speculating. The emotional stakes have never been higher, and the courtroom has become a theater of human tragedy, exposing the raw, unfiltered consequences of lies, manipulation, and long-buried secrets. This is more than a lawsuit. It's a cultural reckoning. It's about trust shattered, innocence impacted, and the public witnessing a story of betrayal unfold in real time. Todd's fight is for clarity, accountability, and justice, and the outcome will ripple far beyond legal walls. Watch closely, because this explosive saga is far from over. The truth will be revealed, the drama will intensify, and every eye will be on Ace, Blaze, Todd, Kandi, and Don Juan as this story tears through Hollywood like nothing seen before. This is the scandal of the decade, and it's only getting started. Stay tuned, because what happens next will shock the world.